Hello, hello. I hope everybody's having a great day here. Welcome back. We are here going through A Course in Miracles. Yeah, and I'm inspired to say a couple of words about miracles themselves. If you have ever been wondering, okay, well, this is A Course in Miracles. What does this actually teach us to do? It's a great question, isn't it? What is this material, this spiritual self-study curriculum that's universal in theme and application that applies to every single living, breathing thing, whether you practice a traditional world religion or you don't, or you practice several, or you have a spiritual mesh of many different traditions, as modernly a number of people do? What does this actually teach us to do? A Course in Miracles. Well, what's a miracle? A miracle has a different definition in this course than it does in common parlance. Common parlance, we often think of a miracle, and sometimes very correctly so, as a cure in health or something like this, right? Someone's curing of a chronic ailment was a miracle. We often say that there was divine intervention in such a thing, or we can think of phenomena that don't adhere to the laws of Newtonian physics as miracles, such as levitation. Yeah, levitation, astral projection, things like that. Doesn't matter if you have experienced or believe in any of this at all. Because A Course in Miracles is beautiful in that it doesn't require belief. One need not believe any of this in order to still practice it, to still consider the ideas that we cover, and to derive benefit in your own journey from all of this. So, to put it quite simply, a miracle is a shift. It is a change of mind. It may or may not produce any beneficial effects or miraculous effects, so as we call it, miraculous, in the physical body. It may not. It may not do it right away, it may not do it at all. And it's not about Yoda or Luke Skywalker or Rey from Star Wars moving rocks with their thought process. It's not about that. A miracle is a shift from our ordinary perception to our real perception. In other words, it's any shift from fear to love, from the ego to God, from death and decay to life, real abundance, not just monetary, real abundance, which naturally can include a fat flow of cash. Oh yeah, I mean, who's turning that down, right? It's any shift from our current state of affairs, suffering, to who we really are. That is a miracle. It's something we can perform all the time, and it doesn't have to involve our walking on water. It doesn't have to involve our necessarily magically healing the sick. It doesn't have to involve our being crucified, nailed to a cross, and laid in a tomb for 3 days. Yeah, laid there, and on the third day we walk out. Right? It doesn't have to involve anything like that. This should be remarkable because this means that we're all miracle workers, literally. In fact, we need to be, and we're called to be. Everybody has access to miracles. This is a miracle in A Course in Miracles. It's a change of mind. If you prefer to think of it as a change of heart, think of it that way. That works. Yeah, doesn't it? Change of heart, change of mind, from the ego to God, from fear to love. The choice that we make in each and every moment. So that is what this is all about. Now, along the way, of course, we have our ups and downs, don't we? We have our good days and our bad days. We have days where we wish we never got out of bed because everything sucks. And we experience one element of suffering after another in seemingly an uninterrupted thread. I mean, we all have days like that, don't we? Enter the workbook for students in A Course in Miracles. Because we're not oriented in our minds, ordinarily here in the world, we're not, whether we'd like to believe we are or not, we're not oriented toward miracles. In the Course, they refer to it as miracle-mindedness. We have to develop that. Miracles are, it's who we are, but we're not aware of that when we identify with the ego. So most of us, almost all of us, need a process, don't we? That's spirituality itself. We need something that's broad and systematic that can help us layer by layer remove the obstacles to the awareness of ourselves. Of course, refers to it as removing the obstacles to the awareness of love's presence, of God's presence. Enter the foundational idea for Workbook Lesson 173, in fact, the entire review period that we're now in. God is but love, and therefore so am I. As always, with this review period, I invite each and every one of you to let this sit with you, to let it permeate your mind, let it permeate your heart, the foundations of your being. Sit with this idea. God is but love, and therefore so am I. Now, if you're doing the verbal math, I hope that the verbal math resonates with you because you are one with God. So am I. We all are. So with this in mind, then we review in lesson 173, 2 ideas that we've covered previously here in the workbook. And the first is lesson 155. So if you want to refer back to this, the reason we do these reviews is so we can take a look at material again. It helps us in our understanding, and it helps us to view it with different eyes, really, because we're viewing it right now, today, as a different person than we were a couple weeks ago when we went through this. And nobody's saying that anyone has to go through the workbook a day at a time as it's designed. It doesn't make any difference. It's a self-study curriculum. There's no quiz at the end, nor will anyone be punished for skipping class. Yeah, we don't have that kind of vindictive teacher, thankfully. Yeah. So lesson 155 is very, very poignant. They all are. Yeah. It says, I will step back and let him lead the way. I will step back and let him lead the way. In sum, I will get out of my own way because I'm in my way. And when I try to manipulate and control all phenomena, I realize I cannot do that. I'm not meant to do that. And I'm falling on my face. And I hate it. It sucks. It's painful. Relate to any of that? Yeah. Many spiritual traditions talk about getting out of our own way. So what do we mean by that? Well, what we discover in the study of this course that is presented to us often on several different occasions in many different ways and different words, different verbiage to land with different people on a different day. That's why Jesus does it this way. By the way, that's why all spiritual teachers do it this way, because we just show up and teach. You never know who you may be reaching on a given day. So I owe it to every single one of you, especially those watching this right now, to show up and just teach. And if it resonates with you, good. And if it doesn't, good. At least I'm giving you something to think about. And that's a win-win. I will step back and let him lead the way. You can view this as I will let God lead the way. I will let Jesus, if he's your teacher, lead the way. The Holy Spirit, if the Holy Spirit is your teacher. I will let my guide or guides lead the way. I will let him, her, them, it lead the way. In other words, I'm not trying to manipulate and control every aspect of my experience. In modern life, we're absolutely encouraged to do that. And people that can do that are seen as, well, beautiful people, successful people in the world. Well, remember, we're here to change our minds. We're here to develop miracle mindedness. So whether you have a fancy yacht or not ultimately doesn't matter. I mean, if you want to go out and buy a $3 million home and you're able to do that, good. That's beautiful. I mean, I've got nothing against a $3 million home. I live here in Arizona, and there's some of those not far from where we live with stunning views. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. What we discover on the path is that when we attempt to run things ourselves and manipulate, we don't know our own best interest. This is something that the ego resists strongly. You may resist this. And if you do, that's good. That's good. It means you're asking the right questions. Love it. Resistance is great on this path. It's coming up for our release, for our acknowledgement, and for our consideration. Really, it's a beautiful thing on the path. It's not all rainbows and unicorns. It's not fluffy, fancy white clouds. The Course in Miracles isn't about that. And to the extent that somebody wants that, well, there's plenty out there that will deliver just that. The fluffy rainbows and unicorns, feel really great. Well, is it undoing the foundations of the ego? Are you questioning the foundations of everything you now believe? If you're not, then you're in your own way. Applies to each and every one. It applies to me just as it applies to all of you. Yeah. If we're not questioning the very foundations of everything that we believe in, we are in our own way while we're trying to control things. And the Course says it throughout. We do not know our own best interest. So what happens? We trust our guides. We take a step back and we allow them to lead. I will step back and let him lead the way. So step back and allow your guides to lead the way. Ask what you should do in every circumstance and allow your guides to direct you. It's a choice that we make. We're not puppets dangling on a string. We make the choice to allow, to step back and let him lead the way. The next idea that we're considering for review is lesson 156, and that is I walk with God in perfect holiness. I walk with God in perfect holiness. God is but love, and therefore so am I. Remember, we're one with God. So who else would we walk with if God simply is, and that's all that there is? Who would we walk with? I mean, and people can say, and you can say, well, I'm walking by myself. I'm taking a walk today. I'm walking my dog. Yeah, I'm going for a walk with my spouse or my kids or something, right? Who we really walk with is who we really are. Remember, God is but love, and therefore so am I. We are one with God, and what we're doing on the spiritual path is we're awakening to that. And you could certainly say we're reawakening to that. What has happened is that we've all chosen to forget. The power of choice is ours. It's never been taken away from us. Spirituality, including A Course in Miracles, likens the state that we're in, samsara in Buddhism, the state of suffering, the world, right, the human realm, as a dream. It's likened to a dream from which we're in the process of waking up. And A Course in Miracles is most certainly included among those spiritual practices that espouses this idea, for sure. It's like a dream that we're waking up from. The truth, the ultimate reality, has never changed. We walk with God in perfect holiness. We are the Son of God. In other words, the extension of God, the extension of love itself. God is but love, and therefore so am I. So with this in mind, we practice today. Now, before I wrap up, I want to say a few words about practice and practice periods. And what I really want you to do is give yourself some love and some grace, okay? I feel very deeply about A Course in Miracles. I can get intense about it. Teachers can get intense about their own beliefs. Why? To reach beings. I'm doing as instructed. Yeah, I'm simply following my guide. I'm stepping back and letting him lead the way. You can do the same. Yeah, I invite you to. I invite you to do the same. And while you're at it, practicing these lessons, there are people that have told me, because I've run a study group before, I've led some workshops related to A Course in Miracles. I have online classes available that go further into the philosophy and practice of A Course in Miracles, if you're interested in those. I hear people all the time tell me that they stop doing the workbook lessons because they're not doing it right, okay? It's common enough, right? We often use the fact that we're behind schedule. Who's behind? Nobody's behind, right? You are where you are. This is a self-study curriculum. So if the workbook lesson of the day calls for a 20-minute practice period and you forget to do it, so what? So what? You just pick up where you left off. Or if you don't have 20 minutes and you only have 2, so what? Do 2. Really, it's okay. What happens is when you cultivate miracle-mindedness, when you make a decision for God, in other words, when you practice spirituality and you earnestly, really deep down in your heart, practice it, you know the difference between just kind of showing up and going through it kind of half-assed and really showing up. We all do. We can all intuitively, gut level, recognize that, can't we? And many of us are quite expert at fooling ourselves. Oh, beyond, right? Yeah, some of us are really good at it. Real pros, real pros. If you're really showing up, 2 minutes is great. Even reciting the idea for the day is tremendously valuable. You have no idea how valuable it is to allow these thoughts, these simple sentences, to just permeate your being and see how you feel. I mean, and if you're skeptical about it, great, try it for a day or 2 and see, but really show up and try it. Yeah, let's not kid ourselves that we're really trying when trying, in quotes, means doing it once every 6 years or something. I mean, we need more mind training than that because we're so easily distracted, right? Now, then if you're checking this out and you discover legitimately that, this isn't for me, that's perfect. There are a lot of other traditions out there. There are a lot of other spiritual practices. We're so fortunate here in the 21st century that they're all available at the click of a mouse online. You can find out information about any spiritual tradition in the world. So there's no reason not to find what works for you. Cool thing about A Course in Miracles being a self-study curriculum is you can keep whatever traditions you're into. If you don't want to get rid of them, don't. You can use this material, and plenty of people do, to augment their own path, to enhance their understanding and see things from a little different perspective that sheds light on their walk. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to do. So if you do nothing else, sit with the day's idea, and please, please have some grace for yourself going through this workbook. Nobody is saying, Jesus himself is not saying you have to do this to the letter every day. Oh, there's none of that. You're saying that to yourself, right? We say that to ourselves. We beat ourselves up. We really are our own worst critic. And nowhere in the world does that show up as plainly and obviously as in spiritual practice, where we're really beating ourselves up. So I invite you to check that. And if you are, then you have an opportunity in the present moment to give yourself some grace and some love, because like I said earlier in this broadcast, every day is different, and the energy that's accessible to you on a given day is going to vary, because we get sick, we get a past due bill notice in the mail, or we open up our email and there's several delinquency notices. Maybe somebody says something nasty to us on social media, because God knows that can happen. Yeah, every day we appear to be having a different experience, but the truth is the truth that we sit with today, and that is God is but love, and therefore so am I. Sit with that one. God is but love, and therefore so am I.